In part 1, we witness something extraordinary. Ade, a 13-year-old boy surviving on the streets, slipped through the gates of billionaire Marcus Thornton's estate and did something no doctor, no therapist, no amount of money could do. He made Sophia laugh. For 2 years, since the car accident that killed her mother and left her paralyzed, Sophia had been locked in silence. But Ade's spontaneous, joyful dancing reached through that wall of grief and brought her back to life, even if just for a moment. Marcus Thornton stood at his window, tears streaming down his face, watching this barefoot stranger give his daughter something priceless: hope. But what happened next would test everyone involved. Because bringing someone back from darkness is only the beginning. Keeping them there, healing the wounds that run deeper than anyone can see, that's where the real challenge starts. And for Ade, Marcus, and Sophia, the journey ahead would force each of them to confront questions they'd been running from. What does it mean to truly help someone? Can gratitude become its own kind of prison? And when worlds collide, rich and poor, broken and healing, can connection survive the weight of everything trying to tear it apart? Before we continue, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you, and if you're new here, click on the subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. Marcus stood at that window for a long time, even after Ade had slipped back through the hedge and disappeared into the streets. His security guard, Robert, came rushing in after hearing the glass shatter. "Mr. Thornton, are you all right? Should I call someone?" Marcus shook his head slowly, still staring at the spot where his daughter sat, that small smile still visible on her face. "There was a boy," Marcus said, his voice rough with emotion. "In the garden, a street kid. He danced for Sophia, and she laughed." "Robert." "My daughter laughed." Robert looked confused, concerned. "Sir, do you want me to check the security footage? If someone was trespassing, we should—" "No," Marcus interrupted firmly. "No police. No investigation. That boy just gave me something I thought was lost forever. The last thing I'm going to do is have him arrested for it." But, even as he said it, Marcus felt a desperate need rising in his chest. He had to find that boy. He had to understand what had just happened. More than that, he had to make sure it could happen again. Because downstairs, Sophia was still smiling, her fingers moving slightly, as if remembering something. And Marcus would do anything, pay anything, sacrifice anything, to keep that light from fading. Over the next 3 days, Marcus became a man obsessed. He personally drove through the neighborhoods closest to his estate, looking for a thin boy with wild curly hair and no shoes. He stopped at shelters, showed a description to social workers, left his phone number at community centers. Nothing. It was as if Ade had been a ghost, appearing for one perfect moment and then vanishing into the city's shadows. At home, Sophia's transformation was subtle but undeniable. She wasn't speaking yet, but she was present in a way she hadn't been in 2 years. She ate her meals without being prompted. She watched television instead of staring at nothing. And twice, the staff reported seeing her humming softly to herself. Marcus would sit with her every evening, hoping she might say something, anything, about the boy who'd danced for her. But Sophia remained silent, though her eyes now held something they hadn't before, a spark, a memory of joy. Marcus hired a private investigator, a man named David Chen who specialized in finding people who didn't want to be found. "I need you to locate a street kid, about 13, probably living in the downtown area or the east side," Marcus explained, sliding a folder across his desk. "Here's the description. I need him found quickly, but approached carefully. He's not in trouble. I want to help him." David looked at the description and raised an eyebrow. "Mr. Thornton, there are probably 200 kids matching this description in the greater Los Angeles area alone. Most of them are off the grid. No records, no documentation. This could take weeks, maybe months." Marcus's jaw tightened. "Then you better get started. Money is no object. Find him." Meanwhile, Ade was doing what he always did. Surviving. He'd already forgotten about the rich girl in the wheelchair, and the moment of dancing in that impossible garden. He'd learned a long time ago not to dwell on things that couldn't last. His focus was on today, on the next meal, on finding a safe place to sleep before the temperature dropped at night. He'd been dancing outside a shopping centre when a woman approached him. She was middle-aged, well-dressed, with kind eyes that made Ade instinctively cautious. People with kind eyes sometimes had agendas. "You're very talented," she said, holding out a $5 bill. "Do you dance for a living?" Ade took the money, nodded his thanks. "I dance to eat," he said simply. "It's not a living. It's surviving." The woman seemed troubled by his answer. "Do you have a place to stay? Family?" Ade gave her the smile he'd perfected over years of deflecting concern. "I'm fine. Really. Thank you for the money." He walked away before she could ask more questions, before she could try to help in ways that would inevitably make things more complicated. People didn't understand that accepting help from strangers came with strings, expectations, systems that could trap you worse than poverty ever did. Ade had learned to take nothing he couldn't carry and trust no one he couldn't outrun. 4 days after that moment in the garden, David Chen finally caught a break. A shelter worker remembered a kid matching Ade's description, who sometimes came in for meals. "He doesn't stay overnight," the worker explained. "Doesn't like being indoors, I think. But he shows up for dinner maybe 3 times a week. Quiet kid, polite, always thanks us. I think his name is Ade, but I'm not sure if that's real or just what he calls himself." David staked out the shelter for 2 evenings. On the 3rd night, as the sun was setting and the dinner line was forming, he saw him, the boy from Marcus's description, thin and barefoot, waiting patiently with the others for a meal. David approached carefully. "Ade?" The boy's head snapped up, eyes immediately wary. "Who's asking?" David held up his hands in a gesture of peace. "My name is David Chen. I'm not a cop, not social services, nothing like that. I work for someone who saw you dancing a few days ago, and he'd like to talk to you. Just talk. No trouble. I promise." Ade's instinct was to run. But something in the man's voice, something genuine, made him pause. "Who saw me dancing?" "A man named Marcus Thornton. You were in his garden. You danced for his daughter." Ade felt his stomach drop. He'd trespassed on private property. Rich people didn't forgive that kind of thing. "Am I in trouble?" David shook his head. "The opposite. Mr. Thornton wants to thank you. His daughter hasn't smiled in 2 years, and somehow you made her laugh. He's been searching for you for days. He just wants to talk, maybe offer you dinner, show his appreciation. Will you come?" Every survival instinct, Ade had screamed at him to refuse, but he thought about the girl in the wheelchair, about her sad eyes, and the way she'd smiled when he danced. And he thought about dinner. Real dinner. Not shelter food, but something good. He was so tired of being hungry. "Okay," Ade said quietly. "I'll come. But if anything feels wrong, I'm leaving. Nobody can stop me." David nodded. "Fair enough. My car is around the corner. I'll take you to his house." As Ade followed the private investigator through the shelter parking lot, he couldn't shake the feeling that his life was about to change in ways he couldn't predict or control. And he wasn't sure if that was a good thing or the most dangerous thing that had ever happened to him. The drive to Marcus Thornton's estate took 30 minutes, but to Ad, it felt like traveling to another planet. The neighborhoods transformed from struggling to comfortable to wealthy to impossibly rich. By the time they pulled through the iron gates, Ade's heart was pounding so hard he thought it might break through his chest. David parked in the circular driveway and turned to Ade. "Mr. Thornton is a good man, but he's also used to getting what he wants. If he offers you anything, you don't have to accept it. And if you want to leave at any point, just say the word and I'll drive you back." "Okay?" Ade nodded, not trusting his voice. They walked to the front door, which opened before they could knock. A woman in a housekeeper's uniform smiled warmly. "You must be Ade. Mr. Thornton is in the dining room. Please, follow me." The inside of the mansion was more overwhelming than the outside. Marble floors, paintings on the walls that looked like they belonged in museums, a chandelier that probably cost more than most people earned in a lifetime. Ade felt dirty, small, completely out of place. The dining room was enormous, with a table that could seat 20 people. Marcus Thornton sat at one end, and when Ade entered, he stood up immediately. For a moment, they just looked at each other. Marcus saw a scared, thin boy, who looked like he hadn't slept in a real bed, or eaten a real meal, in longer than anyone should have to endure. Ade saw a man in expensive clothes with tired eyes and an expression that seemed caught between hope and desperation. "Ade," Marcus said, his voice gentle. "Thank you for coming. Please, sit. I've had dinner prepared. I hope you're hungry." Ade sat in the chair the housekeeper pulled out for him, feeling like he was in a dream. The table was set with more silverware than he knew what to do with, plates that looked too expensive to actually use, glasses that caught the light and made rainbows on the tablecloth. Marcus sat back down, and for a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Marcus said something Ade didn't expect. "I don't know how to do this. I've negotiated billion-dollar deals, managed companies with thousands of employees, but I have no idea how to talk to the person who saved my daughter's life. So I'm just going to be honest. What you did the other day, dancing in my garden, making Sophia laugh, that was a miracle. She hasn't spoken or smiled in 2 years. 2 years of doctors and therapists and specialists. And then you show up and in 5 minutes you reach her in ways none of them could. I don't understand how or why, but I'm more grateful than I can possibly express." Ade didn't know what to say. He'd never thought of his dancing as saving anyone. It was just what he did. "I wasn't trying to help her," Ade said honestly. "I just saw her sitting there looking sad, and I thought maybe if I danced, she might smile. That's all." Marcus's eyes filled with tears. "That's all? Ade, you gave me hope when I'd given up. You brought light back into my daughter's eyes. That's everything." Dinner arrived, brought out by staff who moved silently and efficiently. Steak, roasted vegetables, bread that was still warm, dessert that looked like art. Ade tried to eat slowly, tried to remember his manners, but he was so hungry that within minutes most of the food was gone. Marcus watched without judgment, just sadness that any child should be that hungry. When the meal was finished, Marcus leaned forward. "Ade, I want to offer you something. A place to stay, here at the estate. Your own room, regular meals, safety, no strings attached. You can leave whenever you want. But I'm also hoping that maybe, sometimes, you'd be willing to spend time with Sophia. Dance for her, talk to her, just be around her. Whatever you did that made her smile, I need that to continue. I need my daughter to have reasons to stay present in the world." Ade felt panic rising. "I can't live here. I don't belong here. I wouldn't know how to act, what to do. I'd just mess everything up." Marcus shook his head. "You don't have to be anyone except who you are. That's what reached Sophia. Not performance, not pretense. Just you, being authentically you. I'm not asking you to change. I'm asking you to be safe while you figure out who you want to become." Ade wanted to say no. Every instinct screamed that this was too much, too good to be true, that accepting would mean giving up the freedom that had kept him alive. But he was so tired. Tired of being hungry. Tired of being cold. Tired of running and hiding, and surviving day by day, with nothing to hope for, except tomorrow being slightly less hard than today. "Can I think about it?" Ade asked. Marcus looked disappointed, but tried to hide it. "Of course. Take all the time you need. But before you go, would you meet Sophia? She's been asking about you." "Well, not asking exactly. She still doesn't speak, but she keeps looking at the garden, and I think she's hoping you'll come back." How could Ade say no to that? Marcus led Ade through the mansion to a room at the back of the house. He knocked softly before opening the door. Sophia sat in her wheelchair by the window, exactly where Ade had first seen her. But this time, when she saw him, her face transformed. Not a smile exactly, but recognition, connection. Something that said, "You're real, you came back. I wasn't imagining you." "Sophia," Marcus said gently, "this is Ade, the boy who danced for you." Marcus left them alone, closing the door behind him. For a long moment, Ade and Sophia just looked at each other. Then Ade did what felt natural. He sat down on the floor, cross-legged, so they were at the same eye level. "Hi," he said simply. Sophia stared at him, her hands moving nervously in her lap. Ade could see her struggling, wanting to say something but unable to push the words out. "It's okay," Ade said. "You don't have to talk. I'm not good with words anyway. I'm better with moving." He stood up and started to dance. Not the wild, attention-grabbing dancing he did for money on the streets. This was gentler, slower, more like storytelling without words. He moved his arms like waves, spun in small circles, made shapes with his body that seemed to say, without making sense, "You matter. You're not alone. It's okay to feel broken." Sophia watched with complete focus, and then, hesitantly, she raised one arm and tried to copy his movement. Ade's heart jumped. He moved closer, showing her how to make the motion smoother, more flowing. Sophia tried again, this time with both arms, moving them in gentle arcs. It wasn't quite dancing, but it was movement. It was expression. It was communication. For the next hour, Ade taught Sophia how to dance from her wheelchair. He showed her how to use her arms, her head, her upper body, to create beauty and meaning. He taught her that you didn't need legs to move, that dance was about emotion and connection, not about walking or jumping, or any of the things she couldn't do anymore. And slowly, something remarkable happened. Sophia stopped looking broken. She stopped looking like a girl defined by what she'd lost. She started looking like someone discovering what she still had. By the time Marcus knocked on the door to check on them, Sophia was moving her arms in graceful patterns, while Ade danced circles around her wheelchair. And for the first time in 2 years, there was joy in that room. Real, genuine, uncomplicated joy. Marcus stood in the doorway, watching them, and felt something crack open inside his chest. Not pain, exactly. Release. Like a dam breaking, letting years of grief and guilt and desperate hope flow out all at once. This was what healing looked like. Not therapy sessions or medication or forcing recovery. Just 2 kids, both broken in different ways, finding connection in movement and presence and the simple act of being seen. When Ade finally stopped dancing, breathing hard, Sophia looked at her father. Her mouth opened. She struggled for a moment. Then, in a voice rough from disuse but absolutely clear, she spoke. "Daddy," Sophia said, "can Ade stay?" Marcus's knees almost gave out. His daughter had spoken. Not just made sounds, but formed words, asked for something she wanted. He looked at Ade, who stood frozen, clearly overwhelmed by what had just happened. "That's up to Ade," Marcus said, his voice thick with emotion. "But I hope he says yes." Ade looked at Sophia, who was watching him with hope and trust that terrified him. He'd never had anyone depend on him before. He'd only ever been responsible for his own survival. But this girl, this broken girl, in her wheelchair, needed him in ways he was just beginning to understand. And maybe, Ade thought, maybe he needed her too. Ade said yes. Not forever, he told himself. Just for now. Just to see if it could work. The room Marcus gave him was bigger than any space Ade had ever occupied. It had a real bed, with clean sheets, a bathroom with hot water, a closet that was empty, but waiting for clothes Ade didn't own. That first night, Ade lay in the bed for hours, unable to sleep. The mattress was too soft. The room was too quiet. He kept waiting for something bad to happen, for someone to come and tell him there'd been a mistake, that he didn't belong here after all. But morning came, and no one kicked him out. Instead, the housekeeper knocked on his door and told him breakfast was ready. The first week was the hardest. Ade didn't know how to exist in this world. He didn't know which fork to use or how to talk to the staff, or what to do with all the time now that he wasn't focused on survival. Marcus tried to make things easier. He bought Ade clothes, nice ones that fit properly. He enrolled him in an online tutoring program since Ade hadn't been to school in years. He gave him an allowance, actual money that was his to spend however he wanted, but all of it felt overwhelming and wrong and like it might disappear at any moment. The only time Ade felt like himself was when he was with Sophia. Every afternoon, he'd go to her room, and they'd practice their dancing. Ade would create new movements, new patterns, and Sophia would follow along, getting better each day, finding more ways to express herself through motion. And slowly, gradually, Sophia started speaking more. Just a few words at first. Thank you. That was beautiful. Again. But each word was a victory, proof that she was coming back to the world. Marcus watched this transformation with wonder and gratitude. His daughter was healing right in front of him, and it was because of this street kid who'd stumbled into their lives. One evening, about 3 weeks after Ade moved in, Marcus asked him to join him in his study. Ade sat nervously, waiting for whatever was coming. Ade, I want to talk to you about your future, Marcus began. You're incredibly talented. Your dancing, the way you connect with people, that's a gift. I'd like to help you develop it. Professional training, classes with real choreographers, opportunities to perform. I have connections in the entertainment industry. I can open doors for you that would normally take years to access. Ade felt his chest tighten. Why? He asked bluntly. Why would you do all that for me? Marcus was quiet for a moment. Because you saved my daughter when I couldn't. Because you deserve opportunities just as much as any kid born into privilege. Because I have resources that can change your life, and not using them to help someone who needs it feels like a waste of everything I've built. It was a generous answer, a kind answer. But Ade heard something else underneath it. Obligation. Debt. The unspoken expectation that if Marcus gave him all these things, Ade would owe him something in return. What if I don't want to be a professional dancer? Ade asked. What if I just want to dance for me, not for audiences, or money, or anyone else? Marcus looked surprised. Then you do that. This isn't about what I want. It's about giving you choices you've never had before. But, was it? Ade wasn't sure anymore. He was grateful. Yes. The food. The safety. The comfort of not being cold or hungry or afraid. All of that mattered. But he was also starting to feel something else. Trapped. Like the walls of this mansion, as beautiful as they were, had become a different kind of cage. Can I ask you something? Ade said. Anything. If I left tomorrow, if I said thank you, but I can't stay here anymore, would you still help Sophia? Would you find someone else to dance with her, to keep her healing? Marcus's expression shifted, became harder to read. I'd try, but I don't think anyone else could reach her the way you do. You have something special, Ade. A connection with her that's unique. I don't know if it can be replicated. There it was. The truth underneath all the generosity. Marcus wasn't just helping Ade out of kindness. He was helping Ade because Ade was useful, because Ade could do something for Sophia that no one else could, and if Ade left, that benefit disappeared. Ade felt something cold settle in his stomach. So, I'm not really free to leave, he said quietly. Not if leaving means Sophia gets worse again. Not if leaving means I'm responsible for her going back to that silent place. Marcus looked stricken. That's not what I meant. You're absolutely free to make your own choices. I'm just being honest about what I think would happen. Ade, I'm not trying to manipulate you. I'm trying to give you a home. But intention and impact weren't the same thing. And Ade was starting to understand that accepting help from someone with power meant navigating a maze of expectations and obligations that were never spelled out, but always there. 2 months into living at the estate, things came to a head. It started with something small. Marcus had arranged for a famous choreographer to come to the house to evaluate Ade's dancing and potentially offer him a spot in a prestigious youth program. Ade hadn't asked for this. He told Marcus repeatedly that he wasn't interested in professional training, but Marcus had arranged it anyway, convinced he was doing something good, opening doors, creating opportunities. When the choreographer arrived, Marcus brought Ade downstairs to meet her. Ade, this is Sarah Martinez. She's worked with some of the biggest names in dance. She's agreed to watch you perform and give her professional opinion. Ade felt ambushed. Sarah was friendly, enthusiastic, clearly talented, but this wasn't what Ade wanted. He danced because it was his way of expressing things he couldn't say, of connecting with people, of creating joy, making it professional, turning it into a career that would change everything. I don't want to audition, Ade said firmly. Marcus looked confused. It's not an audition. It's just a conversation. Sarah's here to help you. I didn't ask for help with my dancing, Ade said, his voice rising. I asked for nothing. You're the one who keeps pushing these things on me. Marcus's expression hardened slightly. Ade, I'm trying to give you a future. Opportunities that kids from your background never get. I don't understand why you're fighting this. And there it was. Kids from your background. As if Ade's past defined him. As if coming from nothing meant he should be grateful for anything offered. Regardless of whether he actually wanted it. I'm fighting it because it's not what I want, Ade said, his frustration boiling over. You keep talking about giving me choices, but then you make decisions for me and expect me to be grateful. You set up meetings I didn't ask for. You plan a future I never agreed to. And when I say no, you act like I'm being ungrateful or stupid, or like I don't understand what's good for me. Sarah, sensing the tension, quietly excused herself. Marcus waited until she'd left before responding. You're right, he said, surprising Ade. I have been making decisions for you. I thought I was helping, but I wasn't listening to what you actually wanted. I apologize for that. Ade wanted to accept the apology. But there was more that needed to be said. I think I need to leave, Ade said quietly. Marcus's face went pale. What? Why? If this is about the choreographer, we can forget it. No more meetings, no more plans. Just tell me what you need, and I'll make it happen. That's the problem, Ade said. You keep trying to make things happen for me, but I need to figure things out for myself. I need to know I can survive without someone else controlling everything. And I need to know that my friendship with Sophia isn't just something that exists because you're paying for it. Marcus looked devastated. Your friendship with Sophia has nothing to do with money or obligations. You care about her. She cares about you. That's real. Maybe, Ade said. But as long as I'm living here, dependent on you for everything, I can't know for sure. I can't know if I'm staying because I want to, or because I'm afraid of what happens if I leave. And that's not freedom. That's just a nicer version of being trapped. The silence that followed was painful. Finally, Marcus spoke. What about Sophia? If you leave, she'll think she did something wrong. She'll think you're abandoning her. Ade felt guilt crash over him. I'm not abandoning her. But I can't stay just because leaving might hurt her. That's not fair to either of us. She needs to learn that people can care about her without being obligated to stay. And I need to learn who I am when I'm not someone else's project or responsibility. Marcus stood there, realizing he was about to lose the person who'd saved his daughter. But he also understood, finally, that Ade was right, that you can't save someone by controlling them, that real help means letting people choose their own path, even when that path leads away from you. Okay, Marcus said, his voice breaking slightly. If you need to leave, I won't stop you. But please, before you go, talk to Sophia. Don't just disappear on her. Ade nodded. That conversation, he knew, would be the hardest one of all. How do you explain to someone who's finally starting to heal that you can't be the reason they keep healing? How do you leave without breaking the very person you helped put back together? These were questions Ade didn't have answers to. But he knew, deep in his bones, that staying in a situation where he wasn't truly free would eventually destroy something essential in him. And without that essential piece, he couldn't help anyone, not even himself. What would you do in Ade's situation? You've been offered everything. A home, opportunities, safety, but with those gifts comes the weight of obligation and the loss of autonomy. Is freedom worth more than security? And what about Marcus? He genuinely wants to help, but he's learning that helping isn't the same as controlling. Can someone with power and resources truly give without taking? And Sophia, caught in the middle of this conflict, is about to lose her friend. Will Ade's leaving destroy her progress? Or will it teach her something even more valuable? That healing can't depend on one person staying forever. That she has to find strength in herself, not in someone else's presence. Part 3 will reveal what happens next. How Ade navigates his need for independence while caring about Sophia. How Marcus learns what it truly means to help without conditions. And how Sophia discovers that the greatest gift Ade gave her wasn't his dancing, but the reminder that she had the power to heal herself all along. Don't miss part 3, where all these threads come together in ways none of them expected. Let us know in the comments what you think Ade should do. And if this story is touching something in you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe so you don't miss the conclusion of this incredible journey. Please don't forget to subscribe to Folk Tales by Wealth for more sweet, emotional stories like this. Thanks for watching. See you on the next video.